Hello again. So I've been stuck on this old Socrates saying the last couple of days. Reason leads to virtue, leads to happiness. Then I got stuck on this word virtue, and I've talked about this a few times before because I'm kind of fascinated by it. How can I ramp up that virtue thing, right? And I just like to check in once in a while at what words mean, and I've checked on this before and I forgot. But the origin of the word virtue is man. Now, aside from that, we generally think of virtue as goodness, as honesty, trusting truth, moral upstanding, and so on, right? It is the preferred life we'd like to see lived by those who we would admire generally, right? If we're to be honest with ourselves. But the root of it, interesting enough, is man. We think of words like virile, right? Manliness and so on. But the root of man, of course, is mankind, generally speaking, right? Go way far back. In the origin of the word, it comes from Manu, who was the Hindu god, who was the life force of humanity, if you will. And if you look it up deep enough, you'll find that the word man comes from Manu, the Sanskrit or the ancient Indian languages. And I had a lady friend of mine remind me the other day that a woman is a man. That's why she's a man. It's a type of man, right? At one time, the masculine version was called the were-man. The were-man and the wo-man or the with-man. We dropped the masculine prefix. Unfortunately, I say, because now we've had to adopt this neutral word person, which is not the same thing at all. I mean, in common vernacular, yes, but not the same in how it's used in many other ways. So, if man is what we're going to say we are, or woman, whatever, I mean, that's as honest as we can get. That's what we can actually prove, right? If that is the sort of the center of our honesty, or part of the center of our honesty, then that honesty is going to lead to what we'd commonly refer to as virtue. And it seems like it's a more satisfying life, which is really what happiness is. Not about laughing all the time. We all know that, right? It's how we feel inside. We feel content. We feel like we've done the right thing. We feel like we're moving in the right direction of goodness and wholesomeness and health for our life. So what's the flip side of that? Well, unreason, irrational, and we don't give it some thought, we lead to unvirtue, unvirtuous, unmanly, demonized, the demonization, the demanization, or the dewomanization. Often we hear the term dehumanized, but if we just drop the hue, because that's another one of those filler pronouns, like we're here today, these nebulous or these funny little zers and z's and everything that be thrown around because people don't want to identify themselves as anything. Well, Hugh is one of those, I think. I am Hugh, as opposed to Hugh. It's and that demonization has been the person, and that leads to chaos. And that's what we see in our society so much. We no longer have real, true happiness. For the most part, many people are in chaos. And I think that's kind of the opposite of happiness. Or it's despair, or it's chaos. It's one of those. A lot of times I would have thought that the opposite of happiness is sadness. But sadness, at least it's got some life in it, right? Happiness is like that fullness of life. Whereas chaos or despair is like that emptiness, like the chest is empty, right? There's the demanizing. The man is gone. The man has left the house. The woman has left the house. It's a life of quiet desperation, like Henry David Thoreau said. So I think it's really important to work on our virtuousness, our manliness, our womanliness, of always gravitating to that. What comes after the I am? what comes after the I am. I am an engineer, or I am a man, and my work is that of engineering, or is that of an engineer. But first and foremost in our consciousness of what we are. And what's interestingly enough, if you look as I have, there isn't a control freak in the world who will write down and put their signature to it that they have dominion over man or woman. They'll use these demanized terms like person. And if you look up what they mean by that, it's a corporation, as I've said it before. And if you have any questions as to where I'm getting this stuff from, feel free to ask. Comment in the spaces below, and I'll be glad to engage you on this. Hope this is helpful. A few comments once again on virtue, as I think it is very important, especially if we want a quality of life. See, to most people this stuff is completely boring on the outside. Yet, they chase after qualities of life at the bottom of bottles, in the size of their cars, in having more sex and all that, and it's all great. But that's all a sideshow, a distraction. Because there's a way to the happiness first, and all that stuff can be had. And beautiful splendor, much more so than using it as an attempted means to the end. It's only a momentary means to the end. But virtue is like this blossoming where it's not temporary anymore. It becomes a way of life. And it goes on and on. That has been the little nuggets of what I have experienced anyways. That's kind of like the experience that I have. Not that I'm saying I'm some sort of a virtuous prima donna or anything. I'm just saying that the attempts that I have made to work in that way sure feel good on a happiness, contented sort of level, on a deep visceral level. So, for whatever it's worth, a few comments basically on quality of life experience. I think virtue is a big part of it. Great chatting again. Steve here. We'll talk again later. Bye for now.